My name is Hum, and everyone calls me Ummi. One day, my daughter told me that she got married. I was in shock, and then and I invited only special guests, not poor ladies like you. The story begins from here. Zara was in her room. I could hear the faint rustle of fabric, the click of a suitcase clasp. She was packing for a 2-day site visit for work, she'd said. A new library project in a nearby town. I focused on the dough I was kneading, the push and fold, a meditation against the low, humming anxiety in my chest. The question had become a third presence in our home, a ghost that sat at the dining table and sighed in the silence between sentences. It peered at me from the eyes of every relative, every well-meaning neighbor. "Beta," I called out, my voice too bright, like a polished apple hiding a bruise. "Did you pack your blue shawl? The nights might be chilly." "Yes, Ummi," her voice floated back, smooth and distracted. "It's in the bag." I wiped my hands on my apron, leaving faint, flowery prints. The radio played an old film song about unfulfilled love. It felt like a taunt. I walked to the doorway of her room. She stood before her open wardrobe, a silhouette of efficiency against the neat rows of clothes. My daughter. At 27, she was a masterpiece of self-containment. Where I was soft curves and anxious warmth, she was clean lines and calm purpose. "Zara," I began again. She turned, a pair of trousers in her hand. "Hmm?" The words tumbled out, clumsy and desperate. "Do you remember Saima, Auntie, my friend from college? Her son, Ahad, you know, the one who became a doctor? He got married last month. It was such a grand function. The hall was like a palace. They had live shish kebab counters and a singer from Lahore. Your Fupa was there. She said the bride's lehenga alone cost more than a car." I was babbling, painting a gilded picture of everything I thought a wedding should be, everything I had dreamed for her since the day the midwife placed her, slick and squalling, on my chest. The speech ran out of steam. The only sound was the wistful trumpet from the radio. The ghost at the table leaned in. I took a breath that shuddered in my lungs. "Zara, I have to ask you something." She finally looked at me fully, those hazel eyes holding a patience that felt older than me. "What is it, Ummi?" I clasped my hands together, my knuckles white. When are you planning to get married?" The question hung in the space between us, naked and trembling. I braced for the deflection, the gentle evasion, the subject change I had come to know so well. She didn't look away, she didn't sigh, she simply placed the last shirt in the suitcase and closed the lid. The click of the latches was deafening in the quiet room. Then she walked towards me, not to hug me, not to pass by. She walked to the space in front of me and slowly, deliberately, sank to the floor. She sat at my feet as she hadn't been since she was a child needing comfort after a nightmare. She tilted her head back and looked up at me. And she said it. "Ummi, we got married yesterday." The world did not go black. It went terribly, crisply clear. I saw every thread in the rug beneath her knees, every pore in the skin of my own hand gripping the doorframe. The dust motes dancing in the sunbeam between us seemed frozen in place. Yesterday. The word was a key turning in a lock for which I had no map. My mind, frantically, uselessly, scrolled through the previous day. Zara at breakfast, eating toast, scrolling through her phone. Zara leaving, a call to her shoulder about a client meeting. Zara returning, a little later than usual, smelling of the outside and carrying a box of pastries. "From that new bakery, Ummi, try the almond croissant." We had dinner. Dal, rice. She'd talked about a difficult design approval. Khalid had discussed the rising price of petrol. It was Tuesday. It was her wedding day. A sound escaped me, a dry, crackling thing that was not a laugh and not a sob. This is a joke, a bad joke, Zara. Don't do this to me." "It's not a joke," she said, Her voice was a calm lake. My own was a shattered pane of glass. She reached for my hand. I flinched away as if burned. Who? The word was a scrape of gravel. What have you done? Where did you go? A court? Some secret registry office with strangers as witnesses? The visions were monstrous. My girl in some bleak government room, signing papers under fluorescent lights, a transactional, loveless thing. She shook her head slowly. It wasn't like that. It was at her nanny's house, in her back garden. She has a huge old gul mohur tree. We did it under that tree. A garden, a tree. Not a courtroom, but not a mandap or a shadi hall either. A private, hidden glade. The imagery was at once beautiful and devastatingly exclusive. Who was there? I whispered, already knowing the answer would be a knife. Just us. Him, me, her nanny, and an uncle, a friend of the family who was licensed to perform the ceremony. 4 people. My daughter's wedding party. I was not there. Khalid was not there. The parents who had dreamed of this day since her first breath were irrelevant. We were administrative details she had chosen to bypass. The pain came then, a seismic wave that started in my core and radiated outwards, turning my bones to liquid. My legs gave way. I didn't swoon, I crumpled, sliding down the doorframe until I too was on the floor, facing her. We were 2 women on a rug, a chasm of understanding between us. Why? It was a howl torn from the deepest, most primitive part of me. Why would you do this? Why would you steal this from me? From us? Don't I deserve to see my daughter as a bride? Don't I deserve to hold your hand through the puja, to feed you sweets, to weep when you leave? I was not speaking in sentences anymore, but in raw, guttural fragments of grief. I have saved fabric for your wedding dress for 5 years, Zara. 5 years. It is wrapped in tissue paper in my trunk. Should I burn it now? Should I just throw it away? I expected her to cry, to defend herself, to unleash her own anger, my fiery girl meeting my fire. But she didn't. She just let the storm rage over her. She absorbed my grief, my fury, my accusations, with a stillness that was more frightening than any shout. When my tears were reduced to shuddering gasps, she spoke, her voice so soft it felt like a betrayal. "Ummi," she said, "do you remember Ria's wedding?" Ria, my sister's daughter, the wedding that had consumed our family for a year. I remember the stress that turned my sister's hair gray, the endless fights over the guest list that turned cousins into enemies, the astronomical loans, the bride, my beautiful niece, a pale, trembling shadow under 40 pounds of gold and silk, whispering to me in a rare, quiet moment, "I just want to sleep, Khala. I just want everyone to go away." I remembered. I breathed. "That," she said, her gaze unwavering, "that is what I didn't want. The circus, the months of planning where the wedding becomes a tyrant and the marriage, the actual marriage, becomes an afterthought. I didn't want us, you, me, Baba, to become slaves to that tyrant, arguing over flower colors instead of talking about my future, worrying about who to invite instead of wondering if I was happy." She reached into the pocket of her jeans, not for a phone, but for a small, square photograph, an instant print, its edges white. She held it out to me. My hand trembled as I took it. It was Zara, but a Zara I had never seen. She wore a simple, elegant, cream-colored silk kurta and palazzo pants. No heavy embroidery, no stifling lenga. In her loosely braided hair was a single string of fresh mogra flowers. And her smile? It was not the practiced smile for a camera. It was radiant, unguarded, and utterly free. She was looking not at the lens, but at the young man beside her. He was in a simple white linen kurta. They were holding hands, their foreheads almost touching, caught in a private universe of joy. The dappled light of the Gul Mahor tree fell on them like a blessing. It was the most sacred, most intimate, most heartbreaking photograph I had ever seen. "This was our moment," she whispered. His nanny cried. She said it was the most sincere nikah she had ever witnessed. We listened to every word. We meant every word. Afterwards, she fed us sweet rice from her own hands. We sat in that garden until midnight, talking, really talking, about what we feared, what we hoped for, about you. About me? A small, real smile finally broke through her solemnity. "He is terrified of you," he said. "Your mother is a force of nature. She will have my head on a platter." And I told him, "She might, but only because her love is the fiercest thing I know.